Members of the White House mocking Vladimir Putin for running the election one more time. Members of the White House in the United States of America mocking Putin for running for presidency one more time in 2024. Very interesting. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing great. Thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe if it's not done yet. I'm sure we're gonna love each other. If you are a regular, YouTube has told us that many of you guys are not subscribed, even though you come very frequently to participate in the discussions. Please do subscribe. We'll appreciate it. Thank you. So the members of the White House have criticized or actually been very ironic about Putin's engagement into the next upcoming election. All right. So asked on this Friday, December 8th, about the upcoming election in Russia, the spokesperson of the National Security Council declared this is shaping to be an epic battle. This is shaping to be an epic battle, isn't it? Very ironic. The White House joked this Friday, December 8th, about the announcement of Russia President Vladimir Putin will be a candidate for re-election in 2024, with the American executive suggesting that the result will be a little doubt. The American executive suggesting that the result will be a little doubt. So they are already doubting the legitimacy of the next election of Russia, pretending that the result will be in a little doubt. So they don't think it's going to be a fair election at all. They say it's going to be an epic battle between Putin and the other runners. Crazy. I find it very ironic. United States of America. So they say, well, this is shaping up to be an epic battle. John Kirby said. John Kirby of the USA, spokesperson of the White House, National Security Council, said aboard Air Force One when it was exposed on the announcement, the master of Kremlin. That's all I have to say about it. So John Kirby is saying that Vladimir Putin's election or pretense to re-election in 2024 is shaping up to be an epic battle. I find it very interesting. So, fellas, Vladimir Putin, very charismatic. You all know him. He's been in power for a quarter of a century. And this is what they say. He's 71 years old. He announced on Friday that he was going to be candidate for the fifth term in presidential election on March 17th in Russia. So his re-election leaving a little doubt after almost a quarter of a century, almost 25 years in power, and repression and opposition. That's what Americans say. Repression of the opposition. So for them, Putin repressed the opposition. I find it very interesting. I don't know, don't you? Like, it's very easy to criticize somebody without looking at yourself. I think before you criticize other people, you need to look at yourself, especially if you do things that are very similar or very, much or the same level of power or evilness. It's very easy to criticize. So the Russian head of state, whom in 2020 constitutional revision authorized to be a candidate again, Vladimir Putin, in 2020, there was a revision of the constitution that would allow him to be a president candidate again. In 2024 and 2030 can theoretically remain in the Kremlin until 2036. So Americans are basically very scared, very worried that Putin will stay in power for a long time. Now, my question is this. Who are we to judge Putin or judge any other country for the choice they make for their own country? Are all countries in the world supposed to be democratic? If yes, who came up with that concept that all countries in the world have to be democratic to be good countries? There's a big difference between democracy and justice. Justice is what people look for when they hear democracy. Fairness, okay? Correctness. When people talk about democracy, they're actually thinking justice. So if something happens to me, justice will do something about it. If a strong person hit me, justice will do something about it. That's what's supposed to be democracy. But that's not the reality we see today in democracy. America is supposed to be one of the greatest democracies in the world. It's a place where justice is not real. The bottom line is you can be sent to jail just because of the ego of the prosecutor. Okay, they may find evidence that you were not in the place where you were accused of being. They may find evidence completely making you innocent, but they will not present it to court just because of ego, just because the prosecutor doesn't want to lose any court case. Because by losing court case in America, you lose your value. It's all about winning court cases. So it's not about justice. It's not about justice being served. It's about prosecutors and attorneys winning the court case, whichever the case is. Is that what people like? Is that justice? It's not justice, but it's democracy, right? I mean, it's very easy to judge other people based on your concept of life. Like, who said everybody must be democratic? And who says all democratic countries are happy countries? Or all democratic countries have no issues? You know? Who came up with that the president has to be president only for 1 term or 2 terms? Who came up with that? Okay, if Americans or Europeans came up with it, or whoever created democracy, the concept of democracy came up with that, are everybody obliged to live by those rules? I mean, what if you are a country and your leader is doing tremendous work, is doing an absolute great work? Do you just change him because somebody came up with the concept saying that democracy, you have to run for presidency twice and then you must leave? No. If he's competent and people like him, he's doing a good job, he can stay. I believe people can choose to keep him in power for the longest time period. Or what? Some people believe the reason why they don't want Vladimir Putin in power is because they want somebody weaker, somebody that can be intimidated, somebody that can be manipulated, so they can apply whatever rule they want to apply. I remind you here that Russia is very different from Europe and America. Russians are very strong as men and human beings. And trust me, if there was a world war between people and the world war was only about fighting with your fist, guess who's going to win that war? Russians will go win that war. Because Russians have kept many things that many countries have completely forgotten. They've kept a very strong family structure, Russians. Very strong traditions, very embedded into their mentality. Strong man, provider, strong man, masculine, strong man, leader. That's the Russians. As opposed to Europe, where you don't sometimes know who is who, total confusion. People don't want to be called whatever names. Russians are very strong. And I feel like, same as many other people, feel like the anger here is because they were unable to influence Russia into accepting men being with other, you know what I mean? I can't finish those sentences, but you can complete. Now, they don't like the fact that they cannot bully Russia. They cannot, convince them. If you can't convince somebody, what do? You try to bully them. If you can't convince them and you can't bully them, then what? You should just try to blame them that it's not democratic. Okay? Is America really democratic? Or is the democracy of America some sort of a Trojan or hybrid version of democracy? Because democracy is supposed to be peaceful. Democracy is supposed to be nice, enjoyable, where people live in peace next to each other. Democracy is supposed to be a place where you can speak out your mind, right? You talk about freedom of expression, part of democracy, right? Are there really freedom of expression in America and the Western nations? Do you remember a man named Julian Assange? You're talking about Russia being an autocratic country. Do you remember Julian Assange? Julian Assange, for those of you who don't know, Julian Assange is an Australian computer programmer. Julian Assange is an Australian computer programmer, publisher, and activist who founded Wikileaks. Do you remember Wikileaks? Wikileaks was a platform that published many documents, many secret documents from government across the world. Wikileaks exposed many, crazy stuff, many human trafficking rings, many children trafficking rings, many organ trafficking. Wikileaks. So Wikileaks basically was a place where hackers could go after hacking government official computers, hacking government computers, stuff like that. They will take whatever findings they have, they will drop them into Wikileaks. And from Wikileaks, independent journalists could take those data and publish to the world. So Wikileaks, in other words, brought shame to many governments that were hypocritical, showing things that were hidden. So Julian Assange created Wikileak. He founded Wikileak. He came into wide international attention in 2010 when WikiLeaks published a series of leaks from the US Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning, a footage of the US air striking in Baghdad, the US military logged, and many other files. So basically, what does this mean? From WikiLeaks, some WikiLeaks hackers went to hack the US department and other institutions. And these people put into WikiLeaks videos showing the things that the US military were doing in Afghanistan and these other places, in Baghdad. It was very, very sad. So they talk about we're going to Afghanistan and we're going to Iraq to do good things. They did not do just good things. If good things was done at all. Yeah, we're not going to show you the footage, but what was shown was horrific. And it was a scandal to the world because it showed civilians being hit by military on purpose. Okay, like in a video game by a drone. It was sad to see civilian photographers and people screaming. Whoever was shooting, say, "No, you just shoot." It was very, very sad. And WikiLeaks brought a big chunk of shame to the U.S. Army as well as government. And for that, instead of saying, okay, we apologize for shooting on civilians, what did they say? Okay, this guy needs to be arrested. Yeah, they weren't trying to find Julian Assange. They hit him with a false court case about rapes. They arrested him. Then it was crazy. They done everything they could to get this guy. Now, is that democracy? Is that better than Russia? I mean, let's say you are better than Russia. Does that make you better than Russia? No. If you can track somebody who's just telling the truth, exposing what you've been doing, that's not the democracy people aspire for. People expect democracy to be perfect, to be nice. People expect democracy to be something. So the West cannot they cannot blame other people for running countries the way they want to run it. Have you heard of Edward Snowden? Okay. Edward Snowden, born in 1983, is an American naturalized Russian citizen who was a computer intelligence consultant and a whistleblower who leaked highly classified information about National Security Agency when he was an employee of National Security Agency. He disclosed and revealed numerous global surveillance programs, many run of the NSA. So this guy was working for the National Security. He was a hacker. He was hired by the government. So because he discovered that the USA has been spying on its own people, spying on people's cell phones, spying on people's computers, was unethical, and he exposed that. And because he exposed that, he became the enemy of the state. He had to run away from America he was looking to find a way to Bolivia or some way in South America. So they had to find a way. They made Europeans believe that the guy was in an airplane of a president of Bolivia, Morales. The president of Bolivia was supposed to be flying that airplane. The intelligence of Europeans and Americans thought that Edward Snowden was in that airplane of the president. This airplane was flying from Russia to South America. America asked Europe to close their borders, Italy and many other countries, do not let your airspace be traveled by the flight of a president. This is against international laws because the flight of a president has immunity. They asked their friend countries to close the airspace to a president of a republic, forcing the airplane to land so they can go search it to find somebody. Have you heard of this story? They went and searched the plane and found nobody. And this gave you an insight on how Europeans move, how they work. There's no democracy there. They talk about democracy. There's no such thing as democracy in the West. No. It's democracy on TV. Democracy, the word democracy is used to gain vote. The word democracy is used to blame other countries that are trying to work in their own way. Who said democracy is the only way that functions? I don't believe so. I mean, look at Libya. Libya with Gaddafi was a beautiful country. Things were running smoothly. People were happy. They paid no tax. Imagine a society where you pay no tax. So your money is your money. Every Libyan that aspired to agriculture was provided with a trainer or a coach to help him build his company, help him build, sow and reap the result for free from the government. Every Libyan that was sick or needed medical attention from a different country because of a scarcity of, technology in terms of medicals. Every Libyan was allowed to go to any country of their choice to go get treated in the charge of a government. So the government will pay that fully, and the government will make sure that siblings come and follow you. Libya was never a democracy. It was a beautiful country. There was no McDonald's in Libya. There was no KFC in Libya. There was none of these big companies in Libya. And that's the reason why they hated it. They didn't like it. So, because they didn't want you to see that there was an alternative to democracy, that's why they finished the Libyan president. They finished that concept. So I think it's a shame. It's very ironic to hear Americans saying, well, the election, it's going to be very, very tough election. In a very ironic way, trying to laugh at Vladimir Putin. We've seen some presidents make things happen for their countries, for their people, even though they've stayed longer. I firmly don't believe that you need to be living by what they call democracy. And democracy is also, imposing your way of life to other people. Yes, imposing your Western way of life to Africans. That's what you call democracy. So again, before you talk bad about other people, I think it's very important that you look at yourself and you ask yourself the right questions. You can't talk about certain people in America. There are a group of people in the US you cannot criticize. If you criticize them, you're going to jail. If you don't go to jail, you're going to get cancelled completely. If you don't get cancelled, you're going to lose clients. They're going to make sure everything goes to crumble. Is that democracy? Is that what you want? That's America and Europe. Same for France and Belgium. There are some people you cannot criticize. If you dare do that, you're done. Is that democracy for you? So again, whatever the Russian president does, it's his business. I mean, nobody cares. I'm not Russian. But what I'm saying is, seeing people criticize Russian president saying that the election will be rigged. I mean, the US election, Donald Trump said it was rigged. People of a conservative group said it was rigged when Biden came into power. They said Trump won. They said Trump won the election. It was rigged because they found many faulty documents, many faulty ballot things that were not supposed to be there. People that in COVID voted, like, how did you vote? That's in America for you. Like, I don't see why they would say that. I mean, sometimes you just need to stay quiet if you cannot be clean in whatever subject you want to accuse other people. Thank you very much, fellas. Let me know how you feel about this. I think the world needs balance, and that's the thing many Americans and America doesn't want. Balance. Balance means another country just as strong who's not afraid of you. That's what it is. Unfortunately, when you live in a situation in a place where one person is stronger than everybody, very slowly it becomes a bully. But if there's another person just as strong, or three, there is a level of respect and balance. And I think that's what Russia and China represent at this very time. God bless.